We'll go ahead and get started. It's about 6:04. So anybody that trickles in, no worries. This is a recording webinar and we'll go ahead and edit it and make sure we have timestamps in this webinar, and we'll upload it to YouTube and have it linked on our CARES 3.0 webpage. So I was trying to answer a couple of questions that were already coming in. It looks like just the more relevant ones. This is the English CARES 3.0 webinar. The Chinese webinar will be tomorrow at 6 o'clock and the Spanish one will be on Monday at 6 o'clock. So if you don't feel like you're at the right place, those registrations are also on the CARES 3.0 website, and you can go ahead and register there. I won't log off until I get everybody's questions answered. Feel free to, log off whenever you need to log off, or check out whenever you need to check out if there are things that aren't relevant or redundant information. But you'll hear me repeating a lot of this stuff just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay, so our agenda for today is I'm just going to introduce the team. And right now it's only myself, but then I'll tell you a little bit about who's going to be helping us run the CARES 3.0 program. I'll give an overview of about the compensation initiatives going on at DEC, the two modes, specifically the EESSG. You might not know what these acronyms are. Don't worry, I'll get into them, and CARES 3.0, which is more relevant to you all. And tier and criteria and eligibility, how much people will be eligible for, what tier your program is in, transcript uploading guidance, reviews and updating on your registry profile, and there's some new changes. They're not really major changes, but I'll get into that later. And if there's something in this webinar that you feel like you need a little bit more explanation on, at the end, you'll be able to raise your hand and I'll be able to unmute you so you can go ahead and ask your question if it's a little bit more specific. So hi, my name is Marisa Mota. I can also be known by Marissa Mota. I don't have a pronunciation preference. I am substituting for Lisette, who used to be the manager of CARES 2.0. She'll be back soon. And I'm running the CARES 2.0 program for fall and spring. And usually you'll be able to talk to me through email or webinars. I'll have a TA session going on too that you all will get an email on. And you'll be talking to Susan Liu, who will be helping me with the Chinese translation. And then we're going to get another team member to help us out with the Spanish translations for any other TA support. We also work really closely with Children's Council's help desk. I don't have all of their names, but they are very closely related to what we do here at the CARES 3.0 team. So once I get those names, I'll update these webinar slides and I'll have them on our CARES webpage so you know who you're talking to and you can put a face to the name. So this is going to be kind of the boring, I would say, part of our CARES 3.0 webinar. It's really high level. It's just meant to be about the policy initiative. And we're currently in phase 1. So we're going to start with the overview. And I just want to preface this with Baby Prop C funding, which I'm hoping you have all heard of. This is all redundant information from the first webinar, if you went to the first one back in September. But we now have the ability to do more with the workforce, with a theory that when early educators are fairly compensated, they have more resources that they need and children will thrive. So the Department of Early Childhood is working on a multi-phase workforce compensation and development program. This fiscal year, we're working at 4 phases. And so as you can see, we're still in phase 1, workforce compensation. Predominantly, I'm on the CARES 3.0 team. So this is the stipends. I also worked on the CARES 2.0 team. This new iteration, the only reason why we changed it to 3.0 is because the stipend amounts fluctuate and they change based off of further criteria that I'll mention in the next slides. And CARES 2.0, everybody got the same compensation, the same stipend amount. And then we have something called Early Educator Grants. So I'll go ahead into the next slide. So you can either get a stipend or you can either get a grant. And most of you all today are going to be getting a stipend, but I'll tell you a little bit about what the grant is. So Early Educator Salary Support Grant. DEC provides a grant to the early educator agencies, and those agencies administer all of those there's funds to wage increases. Rather, in CARES 3.0, you actually get the money from DEC directly as a form of a stipend. Now, there's currently no family childcare receiving a grant, and I believe that was a policy recommendation from all the roundtable discussions, family childcare feeling more comfortable with stipends being the mode of compensation that they wanted to get. And only green tier centers are getting the grants. Now, there's another webinar just on green tier and what it means to be an early educator salary support grant, but I wouldn't have all of that information to that. So if you have specific questions about that, I'll link you to the best person that can answer that. But to know whether you're going to get grant or stipend, at the bottom you'll see, in order to determine your program's eligibility and which of the two funding types your program will receive, you must complete a tier redetermination application by March 30th, 2023. And this is really only for administrators. This has nothing to do with individual educators. It's something that I sent everyone an email on about filling out their tier redetermination application. And there you put in a bunch of numbers on how many children you have that have subsidies and things like that. And then at the very end, there's some calculations that are determined to help you find out if you're an orange tier family childcare, blue tier center, or if you're a green tier center and what those implications might mean. So tier criteria and eligibility. So to be considered eligible for the spring 2023 CARES 3.0 stipend, you must be employed at any early learning scholarship site or PFA program that has been deemed eligible. So I'm pretty sure every ELS and PFA site have either been sorted out into a tier or into a green tier center for grants. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to email our ECE stipend email so then I can go ahead and answer those questions. But I have a whole list of who's eligible for what and what tier you're in. To be in a green tier, you can either get an early educator salary support grant or you can get CARES 3.0. But only early educator salary support grants are for centers. All FCCs are either going to be CARES 3.0 in the green tier, CARES 3.0 in the blue tier, or CARES 3.0 in the orange tier. And this is kind of what those implications mean. So if your program serves between 50 to 100% of children that receive subsidies, then you will be deemed as in a green tier. And then so forth, 20 to 49%, 0 to 19%. You might have heard that I did see a lot of emails from educators saying, hey, I didn't get a tier redetermination application. Can you forward it to me? Can you send it to me? So the tier redetermination application went out earlier this month. And essentially, it's really just meant for the center administrators or the FCC owners. So anybody that would really know the information that's needed on that form. It's not expected for educators to apply for CARES 3.0 using this tier redetermination application. They're two separate things. So inside a tier redetermination, it's really meant to see if your enrollment has changed, and if it has changed, we want to be able to give you higher compensation. So for example, if you were in an orange tier family childcare, but now you're serving more children with subsidies, we want to be able to give you a higher stipend amount for that. So you may be eligible to be put into blue tier, you may be eligible to put into green tier. So it's really important for all of the family childcare owners and all of the center administrators to fill that out. I also want to point out that only one application is needed for this tier redetermination application. It's not meant for 3 applications per site. It's really just one application per site. And our team is going to look at this information that you submitted, and then we're going to be able to cross-reference on just making sure that this information is verified and then redetermine what tier level you're supposed to be in. So again, just a little bit of the description. It helps DEC determine your tier status. It really impacts the funding that you've received for CARES 3.0, and it ensures accurate enrollment and staffing information for not only you all to be able to get higher stipend amounts, but also for DEC so that we have accurate data so that we could push more initiatives for educators like yourself. So application requirements, this is a mandatory application for all ELS and PFA sites that are eligible for CARES. So I know a lot of educators have friends that work in centers like WUYI or cross-cultural, but those educators are already the grant. And so I discourage you from passing on that tier application to them because it's not relevant to them. It's really just relevant for those that are receiving CARES 3.0 stipends. So that could cause a little bit of confusion. It is a mandatory application. It must be completed before, I believe is March 30th as the deadline. So we have enough time to verify all of that information and give you a new tier list. And everything that you're putting in your application is going to be used to do regular spot checks and ensure that all of your enrollment and your employment verification is up to date. So once you finish that tier redetermination application, we're going to put out a new tier program list. And if you remember, let's see if I can click on it. When you scroll at the very bottom, it'll tell you, oh, it's going to take me forever, but it'll tell you when this was last updated. And so that date will update once we get everybody's redetermination application in. You'll be able to see like, oh, it's been last updated March 30th, 2023. And you'll be able to know that this is accurate information based off of the enrollments that was submitted by your family child care owner or your site supervisor or director. The next thing, how much will I be eligible for? So this is a common question that we get from a lot of educators. They want to know if, based off of what they're if they're part-time or full-time, their title, position, units, and all of that. All of these criteria are used to determine how much you're going to get paid. And I'll show you the matrix on the next slide, but this is really, really important for you all to go into the registry and make sure all of this is up to date. We did have a few educators last round put in that they worked 15 hours a week. And maybe this was like months ago or years ago. And when they try to apply for CARES 3.0, the application wouldn't even open. And so there is a filter. So if you don't meet that criteria of 20 hours a week, you won't even be able to access that application. So it's really important that you go onto the registry and make sure all of this information is up to date. So how many hours you work, what your title position is, that's another big one that determines what your stipend amount is going to be. If you're a master teacher versus assistant teacher versus a para-educator, all of that has to be really accurate within the registry. It's not only going to help, determine your stipend amount, but then it helps DEC determine what other initiatives we need to be able to push out to support our community. And when we don't have accurate data, it's really hard to make those asks or those initiatives happen. Another big push is ECE units need to be verified. The sooner you do this, the better. It takes the registry about 2 to 3 weeks to get all of that information verified. So I recommend, a lot of you all did that already for the fall round, but if you took some winter classes or anything like that, you really want to go and get your transcripts and upload them so that they can be verified before the application opens. Again, degree verified, the degree must be related to the ECE field. So we did have a lot of questions on that, and we're currently developing a list of what that looks like. What does it mean to be a related degree? I think a lot of people would argue that any degree could be related somehow to early childhood development. So we're going to have a comprehensive list and the reasoning behind that. But that's not something that you need to worry about this round. And then permit level. If you're getting a permit or if you already have a permit, again, I encourage you all to take the time and upload that to your registry as soon as possible because it does take a while for it to be verified. If you are applying for a permit, you are able to actually submit your receipt as like a placeholder, and we will count that as like a good honor, or I can't remember what that word is called, but we will count your receipt for the permit level. Okay, here is our new stipend amount matrix. None of the information on it has changed. It's literally just been a consolidated matrix so that it was less confusing. As I'm looking at it, it could be a little bit overwhelming and what exactly am I looking at, but we can walk through it together. So for example, I have 3 examples here, but if I'm looking at this matrix and I see, and I'm, an educator, I work full-time at a family childcare in a green tier, and I have a degree in a non-ECE field, but 12 core units, I would simply go over here. So I work in a green tier, I'm full time. And then what else happened? I have no ECE, but I have my 12 core units. It looks like, okay, it looks like I would get 15,080, but because these amounts represent a whole year, that means you applied 2 times, spring and fall, or fall and spring. That means you're going to get half of that. So 7,540. Basically, everything that you're seeing on this matrix is for the full year, because the expectation is this is supposed to be a retention program. So the expectation is that everybody would be applying 2 times a year. And then if you look at right here, amounts on this table reflect the total amount per year for 2 CARES 2.0 stipend rounds, spring and fall. Applicants are required to apply for each round and maintain employment with an eligible ELS program and work directly with children in the classroom for at least 20 hours a week to be approved at the discretion of their employer. Yeah, I'm going to pause there to see if there's any questions that I can answer right away. So, okay, I can actually answer this one right now. If your BA is not an ECE or related field, there is no need to upload your diploma. So first I want to clear up that you can't actually upload your diploma. It has to be a transcript, but I do encourage you to upload that, because it is possible that you could, even if you don't have a related degree, you might be able to have some units that would bump you up still to get a higher stipend amount. Okay, transcript uploading guidance. We actually didn't have too many difficulties, or at least we weren't made aware about too many difficulties in the fall round with this. So I do want to give credit to Children Council's help desk for really picking up the TA support on that. But the way it is you just order your transcripts. They can be non-official, they could be screenshots, they can be official ones, however you can get your transcripts. The only thing that we need is they need to have your name on it. And if they have multiple pages, we need to have all of the pages. So you can't simply submit 1 page out of 3 pages. The registry won't actually verify that. So it needs to have, so it needs to have all of your pages, your name on it, the date of it, and then like some sort of seal on it that says where you went. For my undergrad, I went to San Francisco State. So at the very top, it had like the seal on it. It had my name and it had the date of when I printed it or when I requested it or when I got those units. There's a bunch of guidance on the, what is it called, the registry. They have YouTube videos in multiple languages of how to do that. And let's see if I could actually share that YouTube video. So this is where you would go. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I think it's maybe, I want to say it's 5 minutes long, but I want to be able to spend more time answering your questions. But they have a video here, how to do that, and they have step-by-step guides. And I'll go ahead and put this link into the chat. If you are having trouble or you're noticing that your degree or your transcripts or anything like that, any documents that you upload are not being verified, or you're having questions on what's taking a while or anything like that, I highly, highly recommend that you call the workforce registry. If you call the CARES 3.0 team, we're just going to call the registry. So if you want to go directly to the source, I recommend calling the workforce registry and asking what it is that they need in order to support, getting your verification done if they didn't verify it. Yeah, so we can only use verified information to do your stipend amount, to determine your stipend amount. If you uploaded a transcript, say the very last day that CARES 3.0 application is open, so maybe like, I think April 30th, if you upload a transcript, there is actually no way that we would be able to use your transcript in order to determine your stipend amount. So I'm gonna say that one more time. If you were to upload your transcript on April 30th, and keep in mind, it takes 2 to 3 weeks for the registry to verify those documents, there's no way we would be able to use your transcript to determine your stipend amount. And the reasoning behind that is because when we pull a report for the CARES 2.0 team, we only see verified information. So it's very much that you do have it in there, but because it's not verified, it won't be in the report that the registry gives us to go ahead and put our formulas in and create all of that stuff to determine your stipend amount. So we have had some calls where people were saying, yeah, I submitted my diploma or I submitted this, but then it was maybe like a day or two before the application closed. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we could do to expedite that process. You do not need to resubmit any transcript. If you already submitted everything you submitted, you don't need to resubmit anything. It doesn't expire, anything like that. The only reason why you might want to resubmit something is if there's, you took more classes, you have you went to go get another degree or anything like that. But if it's the same transcript, there's no need to resubmit. Do PDs taken at work with SFUSD help boost stipend amounts? So actually, no. Professional development is not used to determine your stipend amount. Only permit level, degree, units taken, hours worked, and position title. Okay, I touched on this a little bit before, but you, again, please review and update your registry profile. So when you go into the registry, you'll be able to see something that looks like this, quick links. And these quick links help you look at your profile, help you make any updates to your job, anything like that. I believe there's 3 columns that you can see there. And we really need all that information to be accurate, especially this personal information. All of this stuff, I just want to also confirm that this is really secure data. We have really tight confidentiality requirements. So it's not anybody or everybody accessing your data. And really, this is to ensure that you're going to get your stipend on time to the right location. So what we had last round was we had some educators move halfway through or like right after the application period ended. It's really your responsibility to update your registry, because I do pull a last report at the end and send it to Children's Council and say, here are all the new addresses, here are all the verifications, this is where we should send our check. And I pull that directly from the registry. So if it's not on the registry and you do call us, we will be able to make those changes, but it's a lot more of an efficient process and you'll be able to get your check a lot faster if we were to have it all in one place, which is the registry. So it's really, really important. We really rely on what's in the registry, and we do consider everything in the registry to be valid, accurate information and the most up-to-date information. So it's your responsibility to get that done. The same with the profile editor. There is, don't think I have a specific picture on it, but there is an employment area right next to personal information. And it's really important that you update your professional or your employment information. So where you're working, what your title is, how many hours you work, all of that jazz needs to be put into there so that we can make sure that we have all the accurate, up-to-date information to determine your stipend amount. So let's see, we have some tips here. Tips, degree and ECE units self-reported need to be verified. Okay, so this was for last round, but we had some cases where educators were saying like, oh, I do have a master's degree, but they only had put it in this self-reported section. So we don't take account for self-reported information. It has to be verified information. That's the only thing we could actually have access to all at once is verified information. So it doesn't really help your case or help the CARES 3.0 team determine your stipend amount if you're just like self-proclaiming that you have a master's degree. You really need to, or a bachelor's or an associate's, you really need to submit your transcript in order for it to be verified. This is how you change your, employment. You would see this information because this is where I worked. So am I currently working there? No, I don't work there. But if I were and I was trying to apply for the stipend, I would click yes. And there's this portion right here where it highlights where you could change your employer, and there's you could search it by multiple factors. So employer name, employer address. I want to say the address is the easiest to look at. Let's go Mission Bay. Oh, nice. Okay. So I worked here, University Childcare at Mission Bay. Yes, select it. And then it's going to say, which of the following best describes your primary involvement in early childcare? So, this stipend is really meant for people that are working directly with children at least 20 hours a week. So I'm not going to put licensed exempt caregiver. I'm not going to put a student in a field. I'm not going to put most of these. I'm going to put employed in a classroom and works with young children. And based off of what you choose in this drop-down menu, directly changes what job titles you have access to. So if there is something specific to your job title that you don't see here, try changing this top one, this what best describes your primary involvement. Try changing those so that you could get a different job title. But for me, I was working directly in the classroom, and then I was I'm going to put an assistant teacher and an aide. And then my primary age group, toddler, and then when I work, part-time, and then hours per week and so forth. And then you could keep going down and make sure you save that data. Also, Children's Council's help desk is really good about knowing how to do all of this stuff. So if you still feel really lost or you don't really know how to do something, feel free to call them and they'll be able to walk you through it. Okay, so this is the new change that I kind of explained. Like, it's not really a change, it's just more of an enforcement. It's the employment verification. This is super, super important. We actually had really great employment verification last round, but it was a little bit of a push that the CARES team had to do. We did call some employers like, hey, you need to do that. People were being sent emails, and this time it's a lot more strict. If you do not get your employment verification done right before the deadline, you will not get a stipend. And again, that has a lot to do with because the CARES 2.0 team can only work with verified information to determine stipend amounts. So it's really the responsibility of the employer to verify employment, including hours, positions of each educator by the application deadline. I will, of course, send a reminder to all employers. And if we're noticing a little bit of like a lag, we will be calling employers to remind them to get those things done. But, you know, if I were an educator, I would really be reminding my boss, like, hey, you know, it's April 30th, just a gentle reminder, make sure you verify my employment. Some of the stuff that they will see is how to confirm like primary involvement, which was that first drop-down menu that I showed you all, the job title, the work designation. So if you're full-time, part-time, program length, if you work full year, all of this program length doesn't really affect your stipend amount. So don't worry about that. It's more, again, for DEC to have all of the verified information so that we know what initiatives we need to be like considering. So a lot of this might seem like personal data. I want to reconfirm that it's confidential, not just anybody has access to this information. So we really encourage you to be honest and truthful when you go and make those updates. And we encourage you to remind your supervisors and for any admin that are on here to go and do the employment verification before April 30th. I do want to say there are employer guides on our website too. And Children's Council's help desk has those employer guides. We have them in the FAQs. So if you need extra support, it will be there too. Confirming your CARES 3.0 application. So there's a couple of ways that you can confirm that you've successfully submitted your application. There wasn't too many educators, but there were kind of some where they thought that they had submitted everything because they had submitted their transcript. So that's actually part of it. You know, once you submit your transcript or upload any documents, that's not it. There's the actual application on the registry that you go in, and you'll go into the left-hand side, and there's something that says stipends and pathways. You click on it and you fill it out and all that stuff, and then you submit. So how do you know if you successfully submitted it? One, you will get a confirmation email, and you will receive this email within 24 hours from the registry itself. If you don't get that email within 24 hours, I would check my spam, my junk folder, anything like that, or reach out to the registry. So there's a second way that you could check. Say you really just don't want to get emails from the registry, or you're not really good about checking emails. You can go into the registry itself, and you can go onto view notifications, and it'll be at the right-hand corner. I don't have an example to show you all, but it'll be at the right-hand corner of your screen when you're on the registry website. Right next to your name, there's a little bell, And when you click that bell, it'll say where your application is at, or any updates within your registry profile. So sometimes it'll say like, hey, you're missing a W-9, or hey, you've successfully completed your application, or hey, there's a note, or anything like that. You can click that little bell and you'll see all the notifications regarding your whole registry. You can also check the stipend status. So after logging onto the registry, you can view the status of your submitted stipend by going to stipend pathways, which is on the left-hand side when you log into the registry. And then there's a column that says my stipends. When you click on that, you'll be able to go and see, whichever one you applied for. So if it was fall 2022 or April 2023, you'll click on that one and it'll give you a status. Sometimes you'll see different things. So I believe when you first submit it, it'll say submitted successfully or submitted or something along those lines. And then when the CARES team starts verifying all those informations, you'll be moved from submitted to like approved or accepted. And then at the very, very end, you'll see paid or something like that. So I'll also put those into the FAQs, what those different meanings indicate. So what it means to be accepted versus approved. If all else fails and you still don't really know if you have a successful application, you can call the CARES 2.0 team. Next slide, CARES 2.0 application deadline. So this is not really a new change. This is actually always the case, but the application deadline is non-negotiable. There will be no late applications accepted. And that's because we have a strict procurement rules that determine the policy for funding opportunities in the city, which is making it impossible to accept late applications. Let's see. Administrators and past care applications are advised to be mindful of the deadline and remind colleagues. So, I remember having a bunch of friends that were teachers, and I would always remind them like, hey, this application's coming up, reminder, like to submit it. Really look out for each other, because the application deadline is not forgiving. We cannot accept any late applications. If you have not received a confirmation email within 24 hours of submission and it's not in your spam or junk, please contact the CARES team. You need to contact us before the deadline, because once something happens after the deadline, it's really hard for us to be able to help or support our educators that are saying that they've applied and we don't have any records of them applying. So you need to call us before the deadline. We recommend saving a confirmation email or taking a screenshot of your confirmation webpage for your records. We know some like really crazy things happen on like this technology world that we live in. So if there was like a glitch in the system or anything like that, we want to be able to honor all of the work and efforts that you did to apply successfully. So, just in good practice, make sure you save those emails, make sure you save a screenshot of you applying or anything like that, so that we could support you and make an argument of why you should receive those funds, even if it's after the deadline. So 5 more minutes. FAQs. What if I don't have any ECE units or permits or degrees? Am I still eligible? Yes, all educators are eligible for CARES 2.0 if they work at least 20 hours a week, and if they're in that list of sites. If you're in an orange, blue, or green tier. If you're in a green tier center, you're going to get the wage increases through the grant. I earned a degree outside of the United States. How can I have that degree counted toward my transcript? So if you earn a degree outside the United States, you must obtain a complete evaluation of foreign transcript, including an early education units obtained outside the United States, to have it counted towards your stipend. There's a website that I will link that I don't have access to right now, but I will link it when I send these slides out of how you can do that. How do I apply for a child development permit? Our close contact is with CCSF. They support educators getting that their permit. So I would reach out to that contact information on the slide to get a permit. What if I change my employment after I apply? If you change your employment after you apply, like say mid-April or even the last week of April, it's your responsibility to update your information on your registry as soon as possible. Because like I said, once we pull that information on the last day, it's really, that's how we make all of our determinations. And if you don't have employment verification, you're not going to get a stipend at all. So you really need to be on top of updating your registry. Can I apply for CARES 3.0 if I'm on leave? So educators on leave are welcome to apply for CARES 3.0, but it will be at the discretion of their employer to verify their employment, check with human resources, EDD, and your tax advisor to mitigate any negative implications. So yeah, you are welcome to apply, but keep in mind that this is taxable income. So we don't want you to, yeah, to do more harm than good. So I would just double check with all of the resources that you're getting first to make sure there's no negative impact or negative consequences, and then feel free to apply. This is where you can get all of your support and resources. You can, of course, contact the registry staff. They don't have an email for us, and I'm working on making sure we can get a live email so I could put out for everyone. But they have this like button on the right-hand corner at the top when you go onto your registry profile where it says contact us. You can click that button and talk to somebody, or you can call that number. We also really love our team at Help Desk at Children's Council. You can email them or you can call them and they'll be there to support you. Financial advising and resources. We have a list of nonprofit financial advisory resources in San Francisco, and it's provided in a lot of languages. And we want you to take advantage of those resources because it is taxable funds. CARES 3.0 team and webpage. So yeah, you can always come to our webpage. We have everything there. We're eventually going to move it to the new SFDEC webpage, but you'll get a notification for that. So don't worry about that now. It's going to be the same. You can literally Google it, CARES 3.0 San Francisco, and you'll be plopped right into our webpage. So I'm going to pause there. I want to honor everybody's time. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me going through the CARES process. If you need to hop out, feel free to hop out. I'll still be recording and uploading this, and you will, because you registered, you will get a reminder that, hey, I've uploaded this video and here are the slides. So don't feel like you need to stay on. But now that I'm at the end, I want to be able to do a little bit of live Q&A. I'll try to hop back and forth to the Q&A that's written and to people that raise their hand.